Oh yeah. They should have like something.
They should, yeah.
Like I saw it, I was like, and like even like on the last minute, like lose something up. I was just like a few people have dropped out or something. I don't know.
Oh, really?
But, yeah.
Better days for bike riding now, you know.
Yeah.
It's a little off.
Paula, can you please make me a co-host?
Yeah. I like fall.
Yes.
And there's no microphone here, right? Is it? Yeah, there. Oh, it's there.
This is what we take, what you would need it. Usually these computers reserved for the chair of the committee.
Right.
Maybe somebody has to be like an acting chair here.
Jesus.
You know.
So you're
In the room.
leaving?
Huh?
You're leaving?
I'm leaving.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna leave soon. Too.
Yes. You want to run this committee?
Yeah.
Yes, at a certain point, I'm gonna be leaving, and the people who are staying here, the only thing is just get out of this computer like you do at home. You get out. And also turn off that computer and the projector. The projector.
Come on. It's only and with the blue button here, you can point back here and here. But we don't want to be all that long. And this one you just leave, you know, shut off the computer and that's it. Everything gonna go off.
Okay, I'm going to call this meeting to order. I can't really call it to order because we don't have quorum. This webinar is now being recorded.
Yes. No.
I would like for
Yes, this is
everybody
here.
who's not me to please turn off their volume, mute themselves. Okay. Unfortunately, since I am not on my usual computer setup, I'm going to be a little distracted because I'm not used to this computer. Let's see, we have Alexis, we have me. Is Tracy here?
You know, the meeting is just leave, get out of the computer and turn off the computer.
Who's taking minutes getting in? Yeah, are you taking minutes? Am I taking minutes?
I'm not taking minutes.
Okay.
We've got two people named Nate. We've got two people who are logged on under your name. Are you logged on with two devices or did you share your presenter link?
Good question, Liz. Good question. Hold on.
If you're logged on with two devices,
Probably
please
the-
log off of one of them. If
Okay.
you shared your presenter link and someone is logged on with your shared link, please ask the person to change their name to whatever their name actually is.
Yeah.
And please do me the kindness of not sharing the presenter link. Those are individual links and they're not to be shared for precisely this reason.
Yeah, thank you, Liz, and thank you for running such a tight ship. However, Luis Melendez would be the guy who's to present, and I don't think he got an invite, so I did send
That's
it.
totally fine. If that ever happens again in the future, have them log in under the public link and we can always promote someone to panelist. But,
Got it. Okay.
yeah,
So
so,
should I have him go out now? He's going to be running through the program.
yes, that would be helpful. If you could have him log on to the regular public link, and then we'll promote him to a panelist. It just makes it easier when we take the attendance because we capture the attendance from the sign-ins.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. To that end, I just want to say I've actually broken my own rule. I am signed on twice, once with my computer and once with my phone, because I want to get a sense of what the experience is on the two devices. So, but it in fact is both me. So right now for attendees, we have, are there any other committee members in the room other than Alexis?
Luana is present.
Luana is online.
I'm online. I'm sorry. I was under the impression that this would be a fully remote meeting. I apologize.
I was under the impression that this would be a fully remote meeting as well. So, we're probably not going to actually have quorum. So we won't be able to pass any resolutions, but that's okay because there are no reso items on the agenda. So I'm going to call this meeting to order, order being used somewhat loosely. Can someone please volunteer to take minutes? Alexis, thank you very much. I appreciate that. So first up, thank you very much for coming. Sorry, we're a little bit late. I see Danny Bonilla is here online. Is Barbara here? Does anybody see Barbara here? Not seeing Barbara. Perhaps she will come later. Is Tracy or Jonathan here?
Tracy's in person at the
Okay.
office.
Tracy's hi, Tracy. I see Tracy waving, so that's great. So we've got 3 people who count for quorum. We need 5. That's okay. I'm not overly worried about this. As I said, this is all of the items that we have on the agenda are informational. We have a pretty packed agenda, so I'm going to go through at a fast pace.
Liz, I do think we have.
Yeah, but
I know you think we have quorum. We do not have quorum. The definition of quorum, according to the new legislation, is people who are attending online, their attendance counts, but unless they have filed a disability self-certification waiver pursuant to I forget the exact section, with disability as defined by section 292 of the executive law, that person's attendance does not count towards quorum. So Alexis is in person, Tracy is in person, and I have a disability form on a self-certification on file. So we count for quorum. Danny, are you in
Understood.
person?
So Liz, where
I'm
can
in
we?
person. I just have my laptop with me.
Okay, so
Liz,
Danny,
thank
you're
you.
in person? Great.
Liz, sorry, one more thing. Thank you for the clarification. Where can we find this new law? Is it possible? Is it on the community board website?
Yeah, so here's what I'm gonna do. There's gonna be a lot of me talking and I will welcome questions, but I will not welcome questions or interruptions until I'm done saying what I have to say, because chances are excellent that not all, but some of the questions that people naturally will have will be answered in the course of me saying what I have to say. So I'm going to really ask for people to bear with me and to bear with the presenters, let them say what they have to say, and then take questions when they're done. So members of the board, you are a public member of the committee, Naima. Members of the board were emailed the full policy on what constitutes a quorum and what constitutes attendance. So to recap, because COVID has been declared over, the fact that COVID exists is essentially no longer an excuse for not attending meetings. The section 292 of the executive law outlines certain kinds of conditions, disabilities, or illnesses which qualify a person to self-certify as disabled so that they can participate virtually and have their attendance not only count towards attendance, but count towards quorum. I have done that because I have such an underlying disability. Barbara has done that because she has such an underlying disability. So our virtual attendance counts towards quorum. And if Barbara dials in, we will have quorum. For those members who do not have such a disability, they are welcome to attend on Zoom, and their attendance will count towards their attendance, and they can vote on things, but it will not count towards quorum. So I hope that's clear. If people have additional questions, I'd be happy to field them offline, but I'd like to not take up too much more time. And Paola, if you could please email those set of policies to Naima, who may not have received them because she's not a member of the board. She's a public member of this committee. That would be great. Are there any other questions on that point?
No, thank you, Liz. That was great. Thank you.
You bet. Okay, so welcome everybody to the September meeting of the Parks and Cultural Affairs Committee of Community Board 12. Thank you all for coming. As the first order of business, I would like to observe a moment of silence for in honor of Bee Hall. She was a longtime member of Community Board 12. She died on August 6th, and there was a going home ceremony for her on August 23rd. She was great. She left the world a better place. Those of you who knew her know what I mean. Those of you who did not know her really missed someone very special, and I'd like to have a moment of silence in her memory. Thank you. I would like to welcome the new Northern Manhattan Parks Administrator, Jana Lasorte. She is, don't call her the new Jennifer Hoppe, she's her own woman. Jennifer was fantastic. Jana is fantastic. And as sad as I am to see Jennifer go and move on into a new position, I am delighted to have Jana with us in this position. She is really a force for good in the world of parks and recreation. And she has a long history with Harlem Parks, really understands Uptown Parks, is a resident of Community District 12, and I'm very excited to have her on board. I see that Barbara has joined. So because she has a disability self-certification on file, that does give us quorum. We have 5 people who qualify: myself, Barbara online, and Tracy, Alexis, and Danny in person. So in the unlikely event that we need to conduct official business, we actually can do that. And again, Luana and Naima's attendance does count towards the attendance requirement for the board. So you'll be hearing from Jana later when she gives her report, but I'd like to give a round of applause and a big welcome. And yeah, thanks for coming on board.
Real quick, it's an honor, and my applause goes to you guys.
Well, thank you for that. Other announcements: the New York City Cultural Affairs 1% for Art Commission at the Fort Washington, New York Public Library branch presentation was moved to the October committee meeting due to a scheduling conflict. That's going to be an interesting presentation. They need some input from the community board. The deadline for it was a couple of days ago. I kind of panicked. They said, don't worry, we will push the deadline until after we've made the presentation because they want our input. So we'll hear from them at the October committee meeting. For those of you who are wondering what is happening with the restaurant concession in the restaurant in Fort Tryon Park, which had been the New Leaf Cafe, the Bonifant, which was supposed to open earlier in the year, they ran into some construction issues, they had gas issues, they had all kinds of things going on, but they will be opening. Their website is announcing an opening for October 12th. So that is very exciting. I really look forward to dining there, and I hope everybody goes there. Maybe not everybody goes there on October 12th. That could be needlessly chaotic, but go there when you can and give them some support. I think it's going to be a terrific addition to the park as well. The New York City Economic Development Corp., the folks who are behind the Academy Street and North Cove new parks as part of the Sherman Creek development, as part of that big chunk of money that we got through the Inwood rezoning. They had made a presentation in June, and the original plan was they were going to come back in September and give a presentation to this committee about where they were and more specifics about the plan. That has been punted to January. They want to QRP, the consultants, and EDC, the agency doing the funding and management of that project, want to make sure that they really evaluate all of the resiliency considerations, given all the flooding, given the many changes due to global warming. That seems to me to be an extremely good idea. So we will be hearing from them in January, and I understand from Jana that she is going to be getting monthly reports from them and will be reporting back to us on that. Jana, I see you have a raised hand. You want to unmute? Do you have something to speak to that issue?
Yes, ma'am. In 3 seconds, Tara Das is planning to join us tonight. So in our parks presentation, she actually can give a short update, and then we will have monthly updates before.
Oh, okay. Great. Thank you. I appreciate that. Other announcements, I made a note about Lily Brown Playground, but I think that Jana is going to be giving us, if there's any news to be given, she'll be giving us an update in her report. I just heard that the Duchess is back at the Hispanic Society, and I'm so excited about that. I can't wait to go see her. And I see Tara has a raised hand. Yes. Did you have something to say to that issue, or do you want to just speak to updating us on the Sherman Creek Parks during the parks presentation? Okay, wait, sorry. Tara, sorry.
Hi, yes, no, just had my hand raised to say that I'm here, and yes, as Yana said, I will be joining in with an update when we go through all parks updates.
Great, thanks so much. My computer screen is a little small, so Paola, if you're still here, there's somebody in the chat who would like to be made a presenter. It's one Luis Melendez, the Dykeman supervising dock master, needs to be changed to a elevated to a presenter.
Thank you.
Okay, And last on updates to the, my opening remarks, announcements and updates is on some changes to the composition of this committee. Our longtime public member, Alexis Marnell, is now, she's been appointed to the community board as a full member. So she is now on this committee as a member, and she is the assistant chair. Tracy McNeil is newly appointed to the board and appointed to this committee. I'm still here. Danny is still here. Barbara is still here. Naima is still a public member. Luana is still on the committee. Jonathan Nunez Frometa Nunez has been appointed to this committee. He's, I think, not able to attend this evening, but I guess we'll see him next month. And I, your chair of many years, while I will still be on the board, am stepping down as chair because I am going to be, I've got some things going on in my personal life that is going to have me out of the city a fair amount. And it felt irresponsible to continue to chair when I couldn't give it my my fullest. So Luana Ferreira has agreed to chair this committee from October going forward. This will be my last meeting as chair. She is a lifelong Inwood resident. She grew up in these parks and knows many of them very well. And we spent I don't know, about 3 hours last week doing an extensive driving tour so that she could acquaint herself with some of the parks that she knows less well, but I wasn't really able to stump her. There was very little about uptown parks that I threw at her that she did not know. There was no park that she was like, oh, I've never heard of this. What's this? She's like, yeah, I've been there. So we are in extremely good hands. Thank you so much for that, Tracy. We are in very good hands. And yeah, you know, this was never meant to be a lifetime gig, and I've been doing it for a long time. So welcome and thank you, Luana.
Oh, I'm expected to speak. Well, thank you so much. I know that I have some very, very large shoes to fill, Liz, and I'd be remiss if I didn't tell that if I was basically coaxed into doing this. So it has been quite the learning experience, but parks and culture are both things that I'm very, very passionate about. And like Liz said, I'm a lifelong resident of Inwood. I was a Payson preschool graduate. I have pictures of me playing in Fort Tryon Park. Now my niece plays in Fort Tryon. I live across the street from Fort Tryon. I took tennis lessons as part of a public school initiative to get urban kids into tennis in Inwood Hill Park. So I'm very, very excited. I just hope that I can fill your shoes and then some, Liz. And then when we start in October, we'll have a new dynamic, a new beginning, and good luck to you, Liz. Like we say in Spanish, envidia de la buena, the good jealousy, because you told me what you would be doing. So, you know, it's for a good reason that you're stepping down. Sad to see you go, but also with good vibes and the best of luck and a little bit of like good-hearted jealousy on this end.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. So, okay, so we've got a lot of ground to cover here. Next up, it's 6:53, and I want to do the programming updates from our cultural partners. We do it in the order that people have their hands raised. So I'm gonna call on Natalie Espino.
Buenas tardes.
And I'm just going to, before you start speaking, I'm just going to let everybody know that you're going to have 2 minutes. I'm going to set the alarm for 1 minute and 45 seconds so that when you hear the sound go off, that's your cue that you've got 15 seconds to wrap up. And I'm going to ask that people please email me and Alexis a short summary of your comments. And by a short summary, I mean a short summary. These are meant to be 2 or 3 sentences, just capturing the gist of what you announced. Natalie.
Always excited to see CB12 people. Liz, I don't know what I'm going to do because I know that it's probably, I'm never going to see you again. But
oh, you can't get rid of me that fast.
Natalie Espino at the Hispanic Society Museum and Library. Just wanted to put a few things on your radar. We are finally opening up our fall exhibitions this Friday, the 15th of September. We have a temporary exhibition, Anatomy of a Fresco. They are the preparatory drawings by Jose Clemente Orozco from the Warnick collection, as well as an exhibition in our main court of Collection Without Borders. It will be a selection of decorative objects and paintings from our extraordinary permanent collection, as well as our Sala Sorolla, as always, open the vision of Spain. We also have a couple of programs coming on. Last week, we started Hispanic Heritage Month by the first of 3 outdoor films and pre-shows in collaboration with Inwood Artworks Filmworks Al Fresco. The next one will be Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown with the pre-show by Rumba Mena. That's September 21st. I will add links to the chat. And pardon the beeps here for my computer. And this Saturday, September 16th, we have in collaboration with Mano a Mano, Viva Mexico, a celebration of art and culture. We will have Claudia Valentina Montes singing and art making workshops with the fantastic teaching artists from Mano a Mano, Mexican Culture Without Borders. That will be at 3 p.m. Saturday on the upper terrace. So we hope to see you all there. Again, the link will go into the chat. We have a jam-packed extended Hispanic Heritage Month with programming going all the way to the end of October. So please come see our outdoor installations, our new exhibitions starting this weekend. I know that CB12 members, some of you will be coming for a tour 2 weeks from now. So I look forward to hosting you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Paradas from EDC.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having us tonight. And Liz, you gave a wonderful update at the very beginning, so I'll just add a little bit of color to that. So as Liz mentioned, EDC, in partnership with Parks and with our design consultants, QRP, have been using the spring to undergo their very thorough and robust community engagement process, which wrapped up right before the summer. So we presented on that in June, in the June meeting. We are in the process of working on the conceptual design for the Academy Street, and we did present on that, which included an overview of the types of things that we're looking to input, which includes sitting areas, picnic areas, play areas, fitness areas, event spaces, continuous bikeways, and continuous waterfront esplanades. This would be for Academy Street, and then for North Cove, we are looking at sitting areas, picnic areas, waterfront overlook, natural planted areas, and improved waterfront edge conditions. So as Liz mentioned, we are working with our design team to undergo a study that focuses on improving resiliency, so specifically related to coastal flooding for both sites, as well as the future greenway link along the waterfront between West 201st and 207th. So once the resiliency study is complete, the team will be coming back. We'll be integrating that information from the resiliency study into our planning and design work, including the proposed heights of flood risk reduction features, developing designs that include resiliency features for the 2 park sites. And we do expect to present that schematic level of design in January at the community board meeting then.
Fantastic. Perfect timing. Thank you so much. I appreciate the update. And I really look forward to hearing more in January. And while on some level I was disappointed not to hear, a fuller presentation this evening, I appreciate. I mean, we're just seeing with global warming and rising sea levels, we're seeing so many changes to coastal things. I appreciate that you're taking the time to do this, and that by waiting a few months, we're going to get a design that's more likely to be, durable. So that feels like a good use of taxpayer money, and thank you. So, second Tuesday of the month, and we'll see you in January. Next up, we have this laptop's really small. Okay, if you could lower your hand, and next up we have Catherine Hughes from the Morris Jamel Mansion.
Hi there. You are going to be missed, Liz.
Well, thank you. Luana will be great.
And I look forward to getting to know Luana. We have a few things to let people know about. The restoration of the exterior of the mansion is actually happening right now, even though you can't see scaffolding happening. But behind the scenes, paper is moving around in the bureaucracy. It is happening. And we will see actual scaffolding going up in the spring. So just after 2024, we'll be seeing some action on site. But a lot of people, because they don't see the scaffolding, think that something isn't happening, but it is. Everything's happening just behind the scenes. The other thing happening is that we are getting a lot of attention in the park from the Central Park Conservancy team. And I want to thank Jana and the Parks Department and everyone who has been helping to improve the sight lines and clear out the underbrush so that the park is a lot cleaner looking and safer. So we're really, really happy about that. We have an upcoming opening exhibit by an Inwood resident, photographer Bruce Katz, if anyone knows Bruce, is going to open his exhibit in our space on September 23rd. It is called Past Present, and he is doing some really amazing, fun comparison work between historic images of the area.
15 seconds.
And we also have our paranormal investigations back. So check our website. It is morrisjamel.org, and you can find out what we have to offer otherwise. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is Vinny going to be doing those ghost things?
No, we have a new team doing paranormal and candlelight.
Cool. All right. Next up, we have Anthony Rojas.
Hello, everyone. Just filling in for Martin Collins this week. I'm with NOMA. So this month we'll be opening an exhibition titled Hispanic Heritage in the Heights in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month with artists from West Harlem, Washington Heights, and Inwood. One of those artists being Daniel Bonilla himself.
Who? Never heard of him.
The opening and artist talk is Wednesday, September 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. at Noma's Gallery, 4140 Broadway in the United Palace. We invite everyone to attend. The exhibit is on view through January 9th with gallery hours on Saturday and Tuesday from 1 to 5 p.m. and by appointment. On Friday, September 15th from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m., we'll host a reading by NOMA grantee Paola Soto about sisterhood, grief, and family secrets on site at 4140 Broadway. at the Hispanic Society Museum and Library, you can see an outdoor exhibit through October 31st by Marta Chilindron, the 2023 winner of the Northern Manhattan Arts Alliance and Hispanic Society Museum and Library's Open Call for Artists. Again, just in general, artists and arts organizations may rent studio space at NOMA and submit their events to our online calendar anytime. And, please visit our website for more information regarding any of the items on tonight's report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And again, don't forget to send a short summary of your report to me and to Alexis. Alexis, can you just announce your email address?
Yeah, you just talk.
Okay, amarnell50@gmail.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we've got Julie McCoy from the Inwood Canoe Club.
Camera for that, but the mic is here.
Hey everyone, you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Lovely. So hi, I'm Julie McCoy from the Inwood Canoe Club. I am Commodore of the club, and I'm just here to report essentially the end of our public paddling season, but we will have some more events. So first up, I want to say that over the course of 15 open house events, those are our regular Sunday morning public activities that go from Memorial Day weekend through Labor Day weekend. We put 786 individual people onto the water over that period of time. We also supported the Heroes on the Hudson event with the Bronx VA to provide paddling and sailing opportunities to disabled veterans. We had 21 participants from that group. We also had a group called El Barrio Bikes come and visit us, and we put 10 people in the water there. In addition to that, our youth program, which is run by Uptown Paddling, which is a legally distinct but related organization, put a total of, I know it sounds crazy, but we had a number of volunteers. We put approximately 100 people on the water. These are all youth programs stretching from New Alternatives, which is a housing organization for queer youth, a Girl Scout troop, Cat Rock, which is a group affiliated with the Sierra Club, and several others. Liz, I will send you some details.
Thank you very much.
I'm also very happy to say that we attended at our sibling club, the Yonkers Paddling and Rowing Club. They had their Mayor's Cup last weekend, and one of ours won the 800-meter women's race, which means that her name will be etched on a cup. Jennifer Ruda, representing Inwood in some old style sprint kayak racing.
Cool.
Last thing I want to mention, sorry, I'm just barreling through in the interest of time. The last thing I want to mention is that we have started a mailing list that people can opt into so that we can keep non-members aware of activities that we have, including volunteer activities. I don't have the dates handy, but we do plan to have some shoreline cleanups organized in conjunction with Friends of Inwood Hill Park. So
Great.
if you don't go to sleep over the winter, we will be in touch. And please visit our website.
Super. Thank you. And if you've got flyers for your particular events, you can forward them to the office, and those can get sent out.
Okay, perfect. I will. Thank you.
Great. Next up, we have Rachel Citron from Row, New York.
Hi,
Right?
good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. I'm just here to announce that we are having tryouts for 8th through 10th graders. So anyone who'd like to join our program, that's the next 3 Mondays, and folks can sign up on our website at rownewyork.org. No rowing experience is necessary, no swimming experience is necessary. And when I say tryout, I really mean a young person just has to come and show that they're interested. So that's the next 3 Mondays. Thanks very much.
Cool. Thank you very much. Next up, we have Jason Smith from NYRP.
Hey, good evening, everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I'm the director of NYRP's work supporting the Parks Department in Northern Manhattan Parks, where we focus on Northern Highbridge Park, Sherman Creek Park, and the Harlem River Greenway. I'll just briefly touch on some programming we have coming up for the end of the summer. Our next large event will be a day in the life of the Harlem River, where we'll have a large group from Dos Puentes out doing some environmental science on the waterfront. That'll take place most of the day during October 5th. If anyone wants to come down, we'll have educators from the DEC doing waterfront science. We have our regular drop-in programming in Highbridge Park and Sherman Creek we have one public event left. The Sherman Creek event will be a shoreline cleanup, and that's on October 7th. And in Highbridge Park, we have our final Highbridge Park Forest Crew event, which will provide the opportunity to do some tree planting in the forest, and that's on October 15th. On October 14th, as part of the Forest for All Coalition, we're celebrating what's it called? City of Forest Day. And so for that, we'll have a special event at the Riley Levin Children's Garden in Sherman Creek Park focused on edible forest gardening and mushroom propagation. All these events are on MORP's website if anyone wants more details. Finally, looking a little further ahead, our annual Fall Fest at Sherman Creek Park will be held on October 27th. Our events manager is still putting together the program and working out partnerships. So if anyone's interested in that, I will drop our events manager's name in the chat if anyone would like to reach out about partnering on that event. We usually have between 400 and 700 people attend, so it's one of our larger events of the year.
15 seconds.
Okay. At the last meeting, I mentioned we have a planning study in the Sherman Creek Inlet looking at resilience and wetland restoration. That project is moving into similar to the Academy Street design, conceptual design. So we hope to provide some ideas for what might be good features to see in Sherman Creek. And we have one additional community engagement event coming up. We're doing a series of events called Sidewalk Science, where we table in the neighborhood and talk to folks about resilience and ecology at Sherman Creek. So that will be happening on Dykeman and Nagel Street, 4:30 to 6:30 on October. Sorry, I don't have the date on that one, but again, that'll be on our website. Thank you all.
Cool. And again, if you've got a flyer, that sounds like a great event. And if you've got a flyer on that, if you can send it to the community board office so they can send it out to not only the board members, but also the public email list. I always tell people you want to get on the CB12 mailing list, because the good news is you'll get a lot of emails about different events that are going on in the community. The bad news is you'll get a lot of emails. So, you know, if you want to stay informed, there's a lot going on.
Just one more note, sorry to go over time, but we're also coordinating with Jana to get all of our events more integrated with Parks Department messaging. So if some of these programs are new to you, hopefully you'll see them more often from Parks Communications as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Last, rounding it out, we've got a raised hand from Barbara Frazier, our committee member, who I believe is going to be giving us some announcements on the Riverside Inwood Neighborhood Garden.
Yes, I am. First, want to just report for Ring Garden collaborated with the Inwood Jazz Festival and Bruce's Garden, and we had a great children's jazz workshop led by Louise Rogers, themed Take the A Train, and most appropriately, and they participated most actively in learning about jazz and participating in jazz themes and jazz music, jazz instruments. So that was really a new innovation in Inwood and in with the Jazz Festival. So hopefully we're going to be creating more of those workshops for children. Moving forward, the children's story hours continues on Thursday mornings. So please get the word out in conjunction with the New York Public Library. I've been told that Manny de los Santos is going to be one of our readers either next Thursday or the Thursday after. So look forward to him doing a bilingual reading in Spanish and English. Also, October 7th will be the Fall Flea Market. So that we'll put that on your calendar. Also, again, gardeners, please come forward, bring your green thumbs. And we're always looking for more gardeners and giving gardeners lessons. If you've never gardened before, you think you'd like to get into the dirt, please, contact the Ring Garden, go to the Ring Garden website or Facebook page, just message us or just come by the garden and please get involved. Basically it.
Great. Thank you so much. And thank you for all the work you do in the ring. It's really just such a wonderful resource for the community. So
one more thing. Also, we also, our last meeting a couple nights ago, we began to plan for the holiday gathering, which is always, I think, special. You've been a contributor to that, Liz. And we plan to have that probably on either the 2nd or 9th of December. Not quite sure yet. And again, Santa Claus will be present, and we're adding this year that the Good Shepherd Girl Scouts will lead a caroling session. And each year it gets bigger and better. So
great.
That will be early December.
Sounds good. Thank you so much. Look forward to hearing the firmed up date at our next meeting or the one after that. So next up we're running a little bit behind schedule, but that's partly my fault. So it's 7:15 and we've got the Parks Department report, which is going to include an update from Jana and also a brief update on the forest restoration contract at Fort Washington Park from Kip Stein. Take it away, Jana.
Well, first of all, hello, everybody. It's really exciting to join you all in this role. And Liz, I'm doing a happy cry for you. You're off to doing more living life to the hilt like you do. Just a real quick acknowledgement, everybody. I've been a Washington Heights resident for 17 years, and looking back way before I knew I was joining Parks, it has become very evident to me that since listening to CB12 meetings since 2007, I have learned immense amount. I started my training before I even knew it with Liz and Jen Hoppe. And what an honor to try to step into Jen Hoppe's big shoes. Big thanks to her for all the generous kindness she's done for me and our team as we have transitioned. So hello, I'm Jana Lesort, Washington Heights resident, 17 years. I've worked with many of you over the years. Look forward to doing more so for Parks now. I was the Harlem Parks Administrator for 3 years, and now we are at the cottage. So please come by if you'd like. I'm going to make sure I drop my information in the chat. I also just want to note that, Luana, I'm very excited to work with you because I've been awed, Liz, meeting some of the partners who've already reported here tonight and learning more about what they're doing. You'll hear from some of our Parks colleagues. It is tremendous what's happening in our community. As you know, you guys have shepherded it. And Luana, I look forward to building those opportunities with you. So on to our report. I do want to note that moving forward, all of our team, I believe, is with us. So Chris Heitman is our Deputy Administrator. Wave, Chris. Ollie DeMeo is our Program Coordinator. Corey Shaw is the new Danny Hernandez. Big thanks to Danny Hernandez for what he continues to do to assist in our transition. And you'll be hearing Sergeant Rivera might be with us from our Parks Enforcement Patrol. He's super. So moving forward, Liz, Luana, I'll be working with you so that each one of us can report quickly. That was our plan tonight. So hopefully Chris and Ollie and Corey can do a quick report. My notes. The High Bridge Pool closed, another successful season, third busiest after John Jay and Hamilton Fish. Monsignor Kett ribbon cutting, very successful. It was awesome to see so many people turn out, including getting to see Kathy Diaz, chair of CB12, and Ebenezer, hello Ebenezer, and meet so many people that we'll be working with. The Dykeman basketball tournament, very successful. We are beginning the construction of the public restroom next at Kett. So Chris will share more in his report. The Bennett Park bathrooms open. We finally resolved some of those plumbing issues that do continue to be a cause for concern, but the bathrooms are open. Central Park Conservancy, as Catherine, hello Catherine, so lovingly noted, we are working closely with Central Park Conservancy in an agreement for High Bridge, for Roger Morris and Audubon Playground to work with them closely to help supplement what we can do as a very mighty but small team up here for a very big parks portfolio. So we have
Which
started
parts
that.
are those, Jana?
Hi, Alexis. Roger Morris Park. Hey,
What?
so Roger Morris Park, where Morris Jamel is. So we have started this whole template that is underway now. So we can give you some photos probably in an update in October. John Kelly, our master gardener, Central Park Conservancy, our team here on the CB12 meeting with us right now. We all met with Central Park Conservancy and Catherine Hughes and did a really thorough walkthrough of how we want to just work to, as Catherine said, create better sightlines, manicure the park a bit more for usefulness and beauty, and also so that we can maintain it. So we have some goals there that I can share at another time. The Inwood handball courts, I do want to note there have been some concerns there. Some, people worried that it was going to be closed. Not at all. That is not a capital fix. We'll be working with our own shops unit for some quick upgrades to the handball court. That should take about 2 weeks, depending on the weather. We are waiting for the start date of that, but fingers crossed. The goal is that that's finished by early October. Speaking of early October, another great piece of news: our Inwood Nature Center is supposed to open in October. I'm waiting for shops this week. Yes, such a beautiful building.
Wait, can we have a round of applause? Like,
it's been closed forever. Yes. So, and it's
Thank
looking
you.
so beautiful, but I will note Chris Heitman on here with us, made a great note, Liz, for us to be concerned about, which is the water, the foundation of the nature center. So at some point we need like a diver to go down and see our foundation. So that's just a future plan. But with that said, everything is looking good for the nature center to open in October. So I will share that date as soon as we have it. I know there's also been concern and interest in Lily Brown Playground. That it moved to public design. So that is being reviewed by the Public Design Commission. That's where it is right now. We will keep tabs on that to keep reporting back for you. Our North Academy and Cove partner is on here with us, Tara, so I'll give that over to her in a moment. As for me, I've been here about 7 weeks. 8 weeks is coming up. Maybe this next week is 8 weeks. So 2 months in, I am really, now that our busy summer season is over, I'm really spending my concerted effort right now to work towards meeting all the amazing friends groups and volunteers I've been able to, and our partners. So I've been starting to do that work. Speaking of that, let's flag that it's my park day is October 21st and 22nd. So that weekend is, it's my park day. October 21st, 22nd. So Chris and Carlos from our Partnership for Parks, we had a meeting today related to supporting our friends groups there. So again, I'm reaching out to them and working with them, as is Carlos, to make sure they have what they need. And then Chris, our deputy, will ensure that everything runs smoothly on the day of and that they have the tools they need. As I finish up, Elizabeth Masello will report on some public art that we have coming to the park. And back to Jennifer.
No. Elizabeth Masella is her own agenda item, so she's not reporting in yours.
Oh, yes.
And before you turn it over to your next person on your team who's going to be reporting, if you could please give your contact information, both verbally and in the chat.
You got it, Liz. Okay. And I was just going to finish by saying Jennifer Hoppe. So another huge thanks to Jennifer Hoppe, who's now our Chief Strategy Officer at NYC Parks, for leading the Let's Green NYC. That is something we'll be talking more about. It's really about supporting our volunteers, shouting out our volunteers, building more support in many ways: marketing, information, the ability to sign up, to know what's happening, the type of volunteering. So thanks to Jennifer Hoppe for leading that effort, and you'll hear more from us. So my information, before I give it over to Chris Heitman, our deputy, for his capital status report, is Jana, Jana, and my last name is 2 words, LA space, S as in Sam, ORTE, Administrator, Northern Manhattan Parks. My email I'm going to put in the chat is jana.lasort at parks.nyc.gov. I'm also listing my phone number here as well, 917-618-1154. Is that good, Liz?
If we have a question, we can do that now.
I think what I would suggest, Liz, if it's okay, is that we hear from Chris and then we can take questions before Corey and Ollie finish up for us.
That's fine, but I'm mindful of time. I put 10 minutes on this and you're already 8 minutes in. So if if Chris and Ollie can be super brief, because then we still also have
Okay.
Kip.
You got it. Chris?
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here. I'm the Deputy Administrator for Northern Manhattan Parks. I dropped my info into the chat already. You can call me Chris, but my email is Christopher, CHRISTOPHER, .Heitman, HEITMANN, 2 N's, @parks.nyc.gov. My phone number is in the chat as well. Quick update, Hudson River Greenway capstone repair is being completed this week and next week. Work is underway. No Greenway closure is necessary. The second item on the Greenway there are the sinkholes and our investigation along with DEP and DOT as to what's causing those sinkholes. We are cordoning them off as they appear, and they are actively investigating the causes right now. They will be doing a test boring and a test pit this week and next week to further investigate what might be causing these. Adventure playground, bathrooms, and park house construction is nearing completion in Highbridge Park, possible mid-October opening. Kiskaya bathroom park house construction is underway. Estimated completion is December of this year. Monsignor Kett bathrooms and park house, start date is later this month as well. Duration is 18 months, scheduled completion March of 2025. Dykeman Arrest, new playground, dog run, and sitting areas. Start date also later this month, duration 16 months, and the scheduled completion about December 24. Lily Brown, Jana mentioned already, Inwood Hill Park, we have a contractor under contract with the Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority, paving some of the upper trails. Detours are in place. That work is scheduled to go through April of 2024. And then last but not least, Highbridge Mountain Bike Trail, work happened this year in partnership with the Mountain Bike Club, New York City Mountain Bike Club, Natural Areas Conservancy, and the Student Conservation Association on the trails along Amsterdam Avenue. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Liz, do we have time?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
A minute.
It's 1 minute. So Corey, if you're there, give 1 minute about our Blitz concept. Liz will be doing 2 a month. Corey, over to you.
So our idea behind Blitz, a lot of times when we fall behind with our parks operations, what we'll do, we'll have anywhere from 10 to 20 staff just go into a park and do anything from cleaning up garbage, painting pipe rails, cutting back overgrown weeds, picking up needles, doing all kinds of stuff in a park, just so you can see a major difference in our park from the day before to today. We've actually done that at Isham. We've done that at quite a few of our parks so far, and it's been very successful, and it's something that we want to keep on doing.
Thank you, Corey. And Pat Courtney, we give a huge shout out to her.
I love that.
We'll keep doing this, okay? And then
so what's just out of curiosity, what's the mechanism for, like, how do you prioritize, and are you going to like announce sort of where, I mean, you obviously have a view of the whole district, but sometimes people who are in a particular pocket have unique insights into the particular needs of those areas. So this committee, I don't want to tell Luana how to run her committee, but it seems to me like the give and take of you talking about what you're doing and allowing some public feedback to inform when things are scheduled is going to be a real recipe for success.
For sure, Liz. And that's something that I really look forward to talking with Luana about. Our team, to answer your quick question, it's really twofold. Looking at what key priorities are, some hot list things that are happening that need to be addressed. Pat Courtney really tipped us off to some of those things. And also making sure that we have a volunteer contingent that can help us sustain the work after the Blitz. So another blitz we did was the Triangle Park over at 163rd and St. Nick Ave, across from the Seatown. So we will be doing this. We also will be doing 2 internally a month for us and our team. So we can close with 1 minute of key programming highlights from our program coordinator, Ollie DeMeo. Ollie, are you there?
Yeah, hi, thanks, Jana. So real quick, Liz, I promise. The highlights right now, we have a watercolor workshop. We've got a barefoot Bollywood dance workshop from Lotus Music and Dance. And then in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, we've also got a bunch of nature photography workshops in English and Spanish, as well as some birding walks in English and Spanish. And you can find all that information at northernmanhattanparks.org. I'll put that in the chat. It'll direct you to a parks website.
And one last thing, thank you, Ollie. We do have also the Swedish Cottage Marionettes coming in Spanish.
Yes,
To
October
Wallingford.
22nd to Highbridge. When I have a flyer, I'll send that out. I don't have one yet.
Love that. And again, if you want to send the flyer to the community board, we can have the board staff send that out to our public list.
Got it.
I think Jay had a question. Jay Baez.
Yeah, I put it in the chat. I know you guys were talking about the J Hood, right? The retaining wall right there next to the Hamlet Court, which has been with that crack for at least 3 years.
Yeah, Jay, real quickly, we do have Kimberly Buddha on the line here with us on our meeting, so she can directly answer that. And Kimberly, are you there?
Oh, that's actually the next agenda item. So let's punt it to that.
Terrific.
Great. Yes. Hi, I'm Kimberly Buda. I'm going to share my screen.
Well, wait, not yet. We just had a quick update from, was Kip going to give a quick update on the Fort Washington Park or?
So my name's Stephen Forte. I'm underneath Kip. It was a last minute substitution. I'm a forester with New York City Parks. I know we're in the interest of time, so I prepared a presentation. I will drop it in the chat for everybody. But just an update on Fort Washington Park. We're having a 3-year-long capital forest restoration project there. It is starting October 2nd and it's going to be running until November or September 30th, 2026. It will be in the interest of restoring forest canopy along the edges, along where the bike path is along Fort Washington Park. We're going to be increasing biodiversity, decreasing introduced species and weeds, and overall just making the park look more beautiful and increasing biodiversity in the process.
Super, thank you so much. And if you can also email that presentation to me, I can send it out to the committee members.
Okay, great.
Great, thank you. All right, so moving along, it's
So, Ms., is this a
7:31.
good time for a question?
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't see your hand.
I'm in the room.
Yeah. Okay, what you got?
Two quick questions. One, is there an update on Gorman Park? And two, related to Monsignor Cat bathroom. Was that the one that was?
Wait. There's like too many microphones in the room. So can we kill the mics so that there's only one talking? Because there's a lot of reverb.
Is this any better?
Yes. So
Okay.
one is an update on Gorman Park and the other.
Gorman Park, and the other is with Monsignor Cat bathroom. Was that the one that was a pilot program for a gender neutral situation, or am I thinking of?
Yes.
It
Yes,
is.
no, Monsignor Cat is the one where we, Community Board 12, for the first time citywide, really pushed the envelope on making sure that we had gender neutral family bathrooms, because the caretaker and the person being taken care of may not be the same gender, and that often creates real issues for kids, for the elderly, for all kinds of folks. So yes, that is that one.
Just speak to that too, please.
Yes.
Is that Nobles?
No, that's Daryl.
Hello, Daryl. Jana here. Hi. I can't see anybody. I can just hear a voice. So in terms of Amelia Gorman, yes, we have a plan for Amelia Gorman. I am moving it forward now. I have submitted a proposal for it that I can't really discuss right now because it's in formation in terms of whether it will be accepted. But it is a high priority for me. As someone who's lived here 17 years and walked down Broadway all 17 years and wondered about that park, when I was fortunate enough to get this offer to become your administrator of Northern Manhattan Parks, it was very high on my agenda to address Amelia Gorman. So it is in motion right now.
Okay, and I want everybody to kind of remember that, park that in the back of your brains. And at the end of the meeting, when we have preliminary discussion of capital and expense priorities for fiscal 25, you know, we need to keep Amelia Gorman in mind. So without further ado, it's 7:34. We're moving to agenda item 4, which is the update on J. Hood Wright Park retaining wall and pedestrian ramp reconstruction. Kimberly Buta, landscape architect, New York City Parks, and you should be able to share your screen there.
Very good. Thank you.
That's item 6, Liz. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, you're not looking at the most up-to-date agenda. It's item 4.
Sorry.
Okay, hi everybody. My name's Kimberly Buta, and this is a project update from the retaining wall reconstruction that we brought to you back in December of 2021. So the updated budget for this project with the addition of the adjacent pedestrian ramp is now $2.15 million. And the goals remain the same, is to maintain the stability of the supported public street and the sidewalks above the wall, and also to reconstruct the wall and the pedestrian ramp structures, improve pedestrian circulation and accessibility into the park at this location, and to maintain the adjacent park amenities. And here you can see the location of the wall and the ramp is at the north end of the park at West 176th Street. Oh, there we go. And we are outside the flood zone, outside of storm flooding, and primarily residential use, as you all are aware. And here you can see the closest park is Fort Tryon Park. And another thing to note is that this entrance to the park is the only entrance for the northern side of the park. So here are the existing conditions. We have the existing retaining wall, and one thing to note here is that the existing ramp is not currently ADA compliant. It is one long run with only a handrail on one side of the ramp. So we are proposing to maintain all existing trees within the vicinity of this work. And it's not triggering any MS4 permitting. And here's some existing images. As noted, there is a rather large crack in the retaining wall. And here you can see the adjacent ramp. And so what triggered the addition of the ramp to the project was during the site investigations phase. It was determined that the existing concrete of the ramp and the wall needed to be replaced. They weren't a sufficient strength. So, and it was also determined that when reconstructing the wall, it couldn't be done without undermining the stability of the adjacent ramp. So we needed to add it into the project. So here's views from the bottom of the ramp within the park, the top of the ramp at the wall, and along the ramp at the adjacent building. And here you can see the proposed plan. And it's basically, the idea here is to remove the parapet of the existing wall and to place a soldier pyre wall in front of that wall, which pushes the parapet back a couple of feet. We did meet with DOT to discuss this end of street treatment, and with both parks accessibility coordinators and DOT's accessibility coordinators to determine the best prospect for addressing this end of street, and really that we came to the determination that the primary access from this for accessibility would be from the existing pedestrian ramps at the intersection at West 176th Street, and that would remain the case. So we really wanted to focus the entrance as where it currently is, and this is accessible, but it wouldn't be the primary way for somebody to get into the park. It would be the main sidewalk where they're currently entering. And the new ramp will have landings, and it will have handrail on both sides. Here you can see a close-up looking at the scoring pattern to tie in with the existing sidewalk and make sure that that's really thoughtfully taken care of. And here you can see a section of what the existing parapet looks like, and also the existing condition at the ramp wall adjacent to, there's a building directly adjacent to that wall. And here you can see this piece here is the existing base of the wall to remain, and in an effort to minimize disturbance to both the street and the park, a new soldier pile wall would be placed in front of it with a parapet above it. And here, also in an effort to minimize any disturbance and excavation both at the adjacent building and at two rather very large trees on the other side of the ramp, our consultant has come up with this plan to create a U-shaped structure that really that leaves a portion and really cantilevers over the bottom of the base of the wall, while maintaining the existing aesthetic of the and reveal of the wall. Here you can see that. And here's a fence diagram showing we'll be replacing this steel fence and also adding a pipe handrail on the other side. And here you can see a standard pipe handrail, standard black steel fence, 4-foot height, and the reconstructed wall will match the aesthetic of the existing wall. And that is the last slide. So we're happy to take any questions.
I got two questions, one of which is if you could, I'm going to ask them both first before I ask for a response. One is the extent to which this will or won't affect that soccer field that was installed several years ago. Not really a field, but that paved area for the soccer. And the second question is procedurally in two parts. If you can talk a little bit about the timeline of this, and do you need a reso on this or no, because it's mayoral funding? I mean, is this going to go through the Public Design Commission? Do we need a reso on this?
It does go through the Public Design Commission because we have to modify the ramp. So because of the modification, it does require that.
Okay, so we will need a reso. So everybody's just going to have to perk their ears back up because we'll, I don't do group writing exercises. They're tedious, but we'll come to an agreement on what we think about this, if we support it, what the main points are, if there are any changes that we would like to see in the design, and then we'll do with cameras on, raised hands, voice vote, so that we can generate a reso that captures the discussion. So if you could just briefly address the soccer, so the soccer goal is going to be reset. and basically spruced up, but when you're done, it's gonna look pretty much the way it looked when it was first installed, so no net change other than restoring it.
Yes, but with the caveat of that would happen within our area of disturbance. We wouldn't be repairing the entire soccer pitch, just the area that we're excavating for the wall and the ramp.
Got it. I mean, it's in pretty good shape. It doesn't really need repairs. You're wrecking part of it and you're gonna fix the part you wrecked. That seems reasonable. Does anybody have other questions? First, members of the committee and then members of the public. Danny. You're muted.
My only question is if you're keeping that sidewalk that's by the ramp, that like short sidewalk.
Are you referring to this sidewalk here? That leads from
It goes like this.
this
It's like
here.
Yeah, to the right of it.
This here, where basically that currently is only like a 2.5 foot strip of pavement. That'll become roughly a 5 foot wide strip of pavement. So it could serve as a sidewalk once the work is finished.
Okay, thank you. Jay Baez.
Yeah, just for what is the timeline of this, right? You say you gotta go through the commission. Like, what's your expected start date?
We have some of the design development has been completed for the wall already, and we had to, when we added in the ramp, that really triggered us to do a set of reviews for that again. So right now we're at the point where we anticipate completing design by the end of November. So that would put the construction date hopefully at November of next year.
So you're talking about basically a year for procurement and construction documents.
Correct.
And then construction breaking ground November of 24. And this sounds like this is a 12-month or less project. So you'll be done by the fourth quarter of 25.
Likely, yes. I would say that it would usually be a 1 year construction contract that we would, but it could take less time, but we would need to give the contractor that full amount of time.
Right. I'm always happy to have you under promise and over deliver. So usually we like it when you tell us the maximum amount of time it'll take, and then we're happily surprised when it takes less time. Okay.
I just had one last question related. It says you're gonna restore like Hamble Court pavement and line painting restoration. Are you doing anything with the actual Hamble Court wall? Because, you know, it's been really bad for, I would say, over 10 years at this point, where Parks just comes in, scrapes a little paint, repaints it, and it's basically like 20 layers of paint with chip paint. You can't really play the sport that it's meant for if the wall's not flat. You know, I can go tell you other places in Manhattan where I play handball and they maintain that wall perfectly fine. I'm just not sure why they do a bad job up here. So are you gonna fix the wall, or it's just the floor and then the sidewall that's almost been like that for over 3 years?
Currently, what's in the project scope is only the pavement because that's the staging area and we'll have to disturb that in order to do the work. So the handball court wall itself is not currently within the project. And because this is a mayorally funded, as you noted, it's really to address bringing walls and structures to a safe and secure state. So that's really our focus for this project.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here. So it's very common for there to be issues in our parks that folks really want to have fixed, and they're important issues, but they're outside the scope of a particular job. So I don't want to be at all dismissive of the importance of maintaining our handball and any other courts, frankly, in a state of good repair. But it sounds like it's outside of the scope of this project, which is funded, the mayor funded, and the mayor before him funded retaining wall restorations throughout the 5 boroughs, and this is part of that. That all said, given that you're going to be in the vicinity of the handball court, and given that messing with the pavement part of the handball will be part of the scope to repair what you're disturbing in the course of the capital project, is it at all possible to find some, I have no idea what is involved, but since you're going to be there anyway, is it at all possible to find out what it would cost to make some state of good repairs, maintenance changes to the handball wall so that it can be done all at the same time? Because it feels like cheaper to do that incrementally than to do that as a new project. I don't know that much about handball. I could be wrong, but it seems like maybe a little bit of extra incremental funding, not necessarily from the mayor, would be a good add-on to fix this problem while you're there anyway. Yes? No? Jana, can you weigh in on this? Steve, can you weigh in on this?
Yeah, let me just say if I can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, so we have our own in-house crews that can that work on handball court walls, and just as we're doing work now in Inwood Hill Park, I'm not sure whether we're doing the walls there. We are doing the courts. I assume we're also doing some work on the walls, but we will ask our in-house crew to take a look at this wall and see what can be done to fix it and remove the old layers of paint. We can do that outside of this project.
Okay. Does that work for you, Jay?
Yeah, I'll just point out that I'm assuming that was your crew that came in maybe about 2 months ago. And we thought they were going to fix the wall for the first time in a long time. And because we saw them scraping off the chip paint, they did not a great job, and then they just repainted. So, I mean, I can send you pictures of a flat wall, and I can send you pictures of this wall, and you'll see the difference.
Jay, hi, this is Jana. I encourage you to reach out to me and we can discuss this.
Okay.
Okay. I do, before I recognize Barbara, I do just want to say that although this is outside the scope of this project, I do think it's appropriate for our resolution, assuming we're in favor of this, otherwise in favor of this project, I feel like it's appropriate for our resolution to have a whereas that talks about handball, and therefore be it further resolved that we'd really like the Parks Department to, use their in-house whatever to address this problem so that something, it feels like I don't want to muddy the issue of this project with something that's out of scope, but I don't want to lose the opportunity to advocate for the improvement of a community resource that's clearly important. And needs some attention. Does that make sense to everybody in the committee? Okay. Barbara. You're muted. Barbara?
Just to quickly echo what Liz is saying, could we get a report from Ms. Lasorte on this, or from Steve Simon, on the state of the courts, of both the tennis courts and the handball courts in both Inwood and Highbridge and J. Hood Wright, or wherever else we have courts in our CB12? Like,
We get that for next month. We're not doing that right now.
Yeah, for next month. So, because in terms of our needs, because I'm honestly a little bit ignorant on what kind of capital funding or restorations that they need, and that may be something we've kind of been a little overlooking them.
Barbara, big thank you. Sure.
Yeah, just what in the best of both, a wish list on what would be necessary. And also I would say to Jay Baez, be in touch with Ms. Lasorte, and then maybe bring some of your fellow members that are playing the handball to the meeting where she would be presenting that.
Please call me Jana. And that was
Jana, okay, I forgot your first name. That's why I said that. So
And-
with Jana, so then be in touch with Jana and bring your members to that meeting where she presents that, so you can also give your player input on that.
And
Okay.
thank you, Barbara, because that was one of my notes for Jay when we connect, is absolutely, yes, we can all keep learning from this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Do you mind, Kimberly, do you mind killing your screen? Because I need to be able to see all of the people. Steve, can you lower your hand, or did you have an additional question? Okay. And I see we have a question from Eligio Reynoso.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So since the conditions of the tennis courts within the community board 12 came
Oh,
up.
wait. I'm sorry. I thought your question related specifically to this item.
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay.
It is related to the handball court where our kids also practice. So you want me to move forward, or you want me to skip that for next time or next month? Okay, so the courts very short. The tennis court are in really terrible shape. The ones on below the GW bridge.
Got it.
The ones,
Okay. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I don't mean to interrupt. So right now we are discussing a very particular capital project. The condition of the tennis courts, huge issue. I'd love to be able to circle back to let's hit that when we talk about
I'll skip
discussion
that.
of
I'll skip that. I'll talk about the handball court where our kids practice. It will be a good idea whether parks or these already funded project, a capital project, to initiate a design where handball and also tennis can share the walls. In Central Park, what they've done is they share the walls between not only tennis people, but also pickleball and the other handball court players. So I would like to see a design where it could be accommodating to all three sports on the handball courts.
Okay.
That's all. I mean, the next thing, I guess I'll bring it up next month.
Oh, it's not so much next month. It's later in this meeting.
No, I mean, I'm being very specific as to the handball courts.
Great.
So that's my input for now.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you can you lower your hand? Oh, there we go. Yeah, lower hand. Okay, so committee members, if you are on the committee and you are not in the room, if you're in the room, can you make sure that the camera's picking you up? If you're on screen, make sure your camera is on and we can see you, like your whole face. Barbara, tilt your camera down a little bit. Okay, so we've heard a presentation. I imagine we're all in favor of this, and except for, and I think that the resolution needs to have some whereases that basically describe the current conditions, describe the cost and the timeline, the source of funding, what the project is going to address, an additional whereas, as we discussed, that speaks to the issue of the handball court, and be it resolved that we approve of this project as presented, and be it further resolved that we would like the Parks Department to use their internal resources to make some repairs to the handball wall. Do we want to also have an additional whereas that speaks to the value of having a flexibly painted handball court so as to accommodate other sports, and to be it further resolved that supports a different kind of painting so that the handball court can be flexibly used? I personally don't play any of these sports, so sharing sounds like a really good idea to me, but I don't know if that like fundamentally undermines the handball experience to also have it painted for pickleball. Like, I don't know if that's a good idea or if I'm suggesting something rash. So how do we feel about the resolution to begin with? Thumbs up, nodding of heads. Okay, how do we feel about calling on the Parks Department to fix the handball wall? Thumbs up, nodding of heads, shaking of heads, thumbs down. Okay. And how do we feel about calling on the part that is within the scope to repaint the handball court so as to accommodate additional uses such as pickleball and tennis?
I would put a proviso in there if that does not impede or diminish the handball playing.
That makes sense to me. Jay, as our resident handball person, you want to give us some handball 101 intel on that? Where'd you go, Jay? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't think it would make sense with the pickleball because the lines are shorter. And I mean, for people who practice tennis, it's fine to keep them the same line as the handball courts.
I
They
see.
normally just practice based on those lines.
Okay. That makes sense. Luana.
I'm gonna have to be the person who brings up a different opinion. We've seen this in this committee and the board, that despite our best intentions to be inclusive of all of the sports, whatever those may be, I get very nervous when things are designed along equity lines, along equity and accessibility to all sports and all of that, because then what ends up happening is that one group becomes the dominant group over the other. And we saw this with the basketball court, that we finally got the funding for the basketball court. And then we started as a group throwing out different ideas of what purpose would that serve. And then the basketball player said, there are plenty of playgrounds, sprinklers all over throughout our beautiful neighborhood. This needs to be about basketball because it becomes an equity issue along socioeconomic lines. So
makes sense. No, totally makes sense. Like I said, I play a little bit of tennis. I tried pickleball once. It seemed silly to me. Didn't get the wiffle ball thing. And I've never played handball, but if people who know more about handball than I do say it doesn't make sense to, I was going to use a word I can't use in a family newspaper. It doesn't make sense to mess with the handball court. Then I'm going to go with, I'm going to withdraw that suggestion. And in deference to Barbara's consideration, I think I'm just going to leave, I think we just leave that off the table. We advocate for the Parks Department to fix the handball wall. And if people want to smack a tennis ball against it as a backstop when it's not being used for handball, then have at it, but to repaint the lines is not going to make sense. I'm going to go off screen briefly because my battery is running low and I have to get the charger. But just before my computer dies, all in favor of this reso, which is going to be in support of this thing as presented with the addition of the requested repairs to the handball wall. Thumbs up.
And keep it as handball.
Say again?
Keep it as handball.
And keep it as yeah. We're not even going to mention, we're not going to cloudy the water by even mentioning that. Okay, so that is unanimous with Barbara, Tracy, Alexis, Liz, Luana, Danny, and where's Naima? Is Naima still on the call? Okay, we lost Naima, but it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, 0, 0, 0. Okay, I'm gonna turn it over. It's 8:05. I'm gonna turn it over to Nate. I apologize that I'm stepping out of the room. I'll be right back as soon as I find the plug.
I think we have 2 more questions, Liz. One from Eligio and the other from Danielle. Danny.
Yes, indeed. Danny, Eligio, what's your question?
If you already voted, I have nothing to say. I'm a certified USPTA and USPTR tennis professional for over 15 years now. I could have an expert opinion on what you just voted on, but that's fine. It's too late now.
Well, let's hear it. I'd like to hear it. We can always amend something at the general meeting. We can do an amendment at the general meeting. Let's hear it.
All right. So I will invite all of you to first look at an article that came up on the New York Times about pickleball. Not that I support pickleball fully, but it's a new thing now where everybody seems to be leaving tennis to play pickleball. To be inclusive, the ideal is to have the walls, and like Barbara said and others mentioned, to have for each game to have a space. That's the ideal. To have tennis court just per tennis, to have pickleball just per pickleball, and to have handball just per handball court. But it happens we don't have the space. The way Central Park had dealt with the issue was to have the ice skating ring, believe it or not. Part of the spaces that they use are because it's only winter, as you know, where they skate. In the summer, they turn it into a pickleball field. We have similar issue because of space. So we have to think hard about separating all those 3 sports. Handball, even though it's not as popular as tennis or pickleball, they require a space. So if we're not going to go for the 3 sport, at least it's not intrusive to have tennis and handball on the same space. Now, pickleball is a different world because of the noise level. It interrupts other players because of the bounce. And there's a deep study that they did. They're actually suing a lot of the organizations that are promoting pickleball because a lot of people who live nearby, they get to hear the sound of the popping, hitting of the ball. And in Florida, that's a huge issue. In Los Angeles, it's a huge issue. where they're now designing pickleball away from any residence area because of the sound. We in the inner city necessarily don't have that issue. However, it is a big issue. So at least we should really look into the idea of maybe not necessarily sharing the space with pickleball, but tennis and handball has traditionally been two sports with no conflict. And I'll end it by saying that, you know, we are losing a lot of tennis players to pickleball, believe it or not. As they get older, it's a lesser of a space. The ball travels slower. So, there, you know, you could play it at any age. That is pickleball. It's fun. It's social. Tennis is more competitive. That's where I'm at. That's why, you know, I believe in tennis because it does more for kids, for community, for people, but it's more competitive. So that's my opinion. I think we should be able to accommodate all three sports. So, yeah,
Eligio, I have seen
go
on the
ahead.
Facebook pages pressure for pickleball space and time in Community Board 12. I don't know how big it is, but there has been complaints and pressure for it.
Yeah, I think if we look at the diamond area by the marina, the last conversation I had with Jennifer Harper was that the old ice skating ring was going to be a pickleball area specifically for pickleball. I mentioned to her that would be a good idea because we are getting pressure by the pickleball players to utilize the Inwood Hill court and the Highbridge court the GW court for the Fort Washington tennis court. So there's a lot of pressure from the tennis world in terms of, pickleball revolution, I call it, and it is a revolution. So Park needs to really update up here. They have, done designs, as I mentioned, in Central Park. To everybody seem to be okay because they have allocated spaces specifically for each sport. So that's something that we have to look into.
I don't think Liz, oh, there she is. Okay, I was just about to move to the next item in the agenda in the essence of time. So you're back, Liz. So not trying to take over. I'm not trying to prematurely take over the meeting.
That's okay. No, I'm so sorry. I thought I had more battery than I had, and then I couldn't find the cord. And these time-saving devices are killing us. Eligio, I'm sorry. I have no disrespect for your expertise. Handball courts are disappearing throughout the city. So if the handball playing community would like for one of the few remaining handball courts to stay a handball court, then stay a handball court, it will. So I'm going to record that as a unanimous approval, and we are moving to the next item. It is 8:12. Nate, what you got for us?
Yeah, hello, everyone. Yeah, we'll try and move quickly. Thanks for having us and giving us a slot here. I want to start, though. I have the benefit of traveling our shorelines throughout all 5 boroughs and getting to meet with a lot of community boards. And I got to say, Northern Parks does very well with your administrators. So from Jen to Jana now, you guys definitely get some of the best within this agency. So, Jana and I have already been cheek to jowl looking at the marina and our public programming, which is what I want to hand over to Luis Melendez, who is our supervising dock master at the site. I don't know how many of you have met him. You guys have probably seen enough of me over the last several years when Parks came in after. I've been here now over 2 decades, always in the same job of focused on opening up our waterfronts to the public. I was disappointed after kicking Jerry O'Rourke out, that Manhattan River Group didn't really deliver in my world of marinas and waterfront access. So we now decided several years ago to sharpen our pencils, pitch it to Office of Management and Budget that we should operate the site ourselves. The story is getting a little old. I was able to get really good input from this community board on what you'd like to see there. So we're still getting our feet under us. We've been there for about 3 years now, but I'm going to hand it over to Luis Melendez to really focus in on our public programming component and run through kind of a recap of this past summer and kind of more aspirational where we want to go with things and how you guys might be able to help. So I'll be here for questions, but I'll hand it over to Luis.
Great, thanks Nate. Thanks for the intro. Thank you everyone for having me here. Very excited to be here today talking to you all about the waterfront programs that we have going on at Dykeman and what we were able to bring here since we took the site over in the fall of 2019. But before I go into the presentation and share my screen, I just want to give a brief kind of intro to kind of like thoroughly introduce myself and my background, just to kind of talk about how these waterfront programs have impacted me personally, professionally, and like continue to kind of inspire me to foster these kinds of access to these experiences. So really quickly, I'll keep it brief. So so my first kind of exposure to the waterfront was going to the New York Harbor School. It's a public maritime high school. It's a marine and maritime technical high school, originally located in Bushwick, Brooklyn. That's where the school was founded, but then since then has shifted over to Governor's Island. Yeah, and at New York Harbor School, the New York Harbor was our classroom. Students would spend time in, on, and around the water, from sailing historical tall ships to discovering the marine life that's thrived below. And those kind of experiences really opened my eyes to like the New York Harbor as a place of learning, recreation, career opportunities, and enjoyment. And after that experience, I pretty much, right after high school, I wanted to kind of continue that route of working on the water. So I got a job at New York Water Taxi, where I drove there as a captain for many years. I've been a captain in the harbor for 14 years now. And within those 14 years, I also had the opportunity to go back to the harbor school and work directly with students, getting them on the water through the school's partnership with Billy Norship Project, which is, and for those who don't know about Billy Norship Project, it's an education-focused nonprofit that's working to restore the oyster population in New York Harbor. I'll talk a little bit more about them in our slide. Yeah, and now at Parks, I currently work to bring these kind of waterfront programs to Dykeman to kind of provide those kind of very similar experiences to the community. Okay, so now I'll share my screen. I can show you the opportunities that we have for getting people, getting the public out on the water. So then we're gonna start this one. Let me just, there we go. Yeah, so we're gonna highlight some programs here that we have going on at Dykeman Marina. Be able to kind of like talk about how folks can get involved in some of these programs. Some of these programs they have a general public component to that I'll speak to. The first slide that we have here is Hudson River Community Sailing. There are sort of like anchor tenant, and they have a license agreement to run programs out of Dykeman. They're a nonprofit that work with New York City youth and provide sailing and maritime educations through after-school programs, summer camps, and internships. They also partner with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs to offer their adaptive sailing program to people with disabilities.
Can you speak up just a little bit or turn up your volume?
Sure. Yeah, I can. I can speak up. Excuse me.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Sure. And so Parks, part of their license agreement, Parks requires HRCS to offer free monthly community sailing days. So they offer one every month. If you haven't been out, highly recommend going on their website and registering to come out on Dykeman and and go out for a sale. The next date is September 30th. And again, these are free sales. They do one a month, and the next one is September 30th. So please come on down. And then you can see on the top right, they're, they'll run their programs on their boats, but when there's ever inclement weather or they're running any kind of first aid and CPR, they do utilize the classroom space up top of the hut. Next year, we have Bill and Oyster Project. And Bill and Oyster Project is a education and environmental focused nonprofit that works on restoring oysters in the New York Harbor. They mainly operate out of Governor's Island. But they also have several oyster restoration stations around the New York Harbor. They're actually those cages that you're seeing in the pictures there. In all those pictures, you'll see those kind of like mesh cages. Those are the oyster restoration stations. And what they do is they house oysters, and then you'll set them on docks in different parts of the harbor just to kind of monitor it's more like a kind of like a temperature check on the harbor, just to see how the oysters like that part of the harbor. So school groups will come out and measure oysters. They'll check the mortality. They'll also identify what kind of species are attracted to oysters in these cages. Yeah, and we have 3 of those cages at Dykeman. Next, we have Hudson River Clearwater. Most folks know as Pete Sears Clearwater. Their mission is to protect the Hudson and inspire lifelong stewardship of the river. And here we were really excited about being able to work with Clearwater. They haven't really tied up at Dykeman before. We would go to 79th Street Boat Basin, but now with the closure of Boat Basin, we were able to work with Clearwater to have them tie up at Dykeman and run their kind of like on the water classroom programs. They work mainly with the coordinated programs through the New York City Department of Education, but they also work closely with us to kind of like identify groups in the community that we can connect them with so that they can go out on sales. We've done that with Fresh Youth Initiatives here in Inwood, and then they also open up their decks for deck tours for the general public when they're around. The next slide here is the Urban Assembly New York Harbor School. So it's a great partnership we have with the school. Actually, there are a few staff members here that also went to New York Harbor School. So it's such a natural fit with the kind of like on the water training, working on boats, on and alongside docks. It's just a natural fit. Here we have our interns. So part of the New York Harbor School curriculum is that these students have to go through an internship project to get their career and technical education course requirement credit. So here in these photos, we have Haley Williams, who was our intern last year, and she's doing everything from building kayak racks for our kayak storage program, driving our parks whaler to inspect moorings, and also doing some dock repairs. City Parks Foundation runs their Coastal Classroom Partnership, Coastal Classroom Program in partnership with BOP. BOP will come out, send staff members to work with them at Dykeman, monitoring the RSs. Again, you can kind of see students measuring the oysters, checking the mortality, and also on the left photo, identifying species. And here we have Fresh Youth Initiatives, which was really for us a sort of connect with Clearwater. And that came from having the opportunity. Clearwater offered the opportunity for free sale, for free educational program. We was working closely with Jen Hoppa at the time. She directed me to check out the CB12 page and just to take a look at the community groups, and I was able to find Fresh Youth Initiative. So thank you so much for having that resource posted out, because it really helped us make that connection. And it was great having them on site here, and the experience that they had when they came off the boat was amazing. Yeah. So now we have the Impossible Dream here. So Impossible Dream it's a great boat. It's very unique. It's the only kind of catamaran that was designed to be universally accessible. And they run joint programs with Hudson River Community Sailing. However, they're here. They just got there now. They're here for the week. We're working on finalizing some deck tours. So we'll definitely, anyone, you're all welcome to come out and check out the Impossible Dream. I'll also have a slide with my email address and phone number at the end, so we can sort of feel free to call the office to coordinate or to find out more information about when those deck tours are happening. So you all very know the Inwood Canoe Club offers free kayak programming next door to us. Now, what we were able to do when we took over the site is also support groups like Inwood Canoe Club by giving them that sort of classroom space to have the meeting space, to run classes, classes from first aid, CPR, navigation courses. I'm actually currently working with Julie to get some of those classes on schedule now. And then we have
Unfortunately, Julie had to hop off the call, but thank you for that.
Of course. And then so we also are able to support other kind of like nonprofit groups that are passed through the marina. Rocking the Boat is actually one of a great example. We work with Rocking the Boat. We work with Village Community Boathouse during their sort of annual row, their circumnavigation around Manhattan. They stop at Dykeman for a rest stop, to use the bathroom and lunch. It's always kind of great having them here, and they definitely appreciate the support. And then, our last sort of last slide here is a program we were able to sort of develop with the Urban Park Rangers. They had their own sort of conservation corp internship, but the marina was able to sort of actively work with the Urban Park Rangers to develop sessions where we would have their interns come out to the marina. We pull out one of those oyster research stations, talk about marine ecology, sort of get them out on the boats, get them out on the water. And we run those sessions every spring and fall. So we're pretty, really excited and proud about that. So that's all the slides that I have. So so let me know if you have any questions. And I have all my contact information here. I'll also make sure to add it on the chat. So please do not hesitate to contact me. And we're looking forward to continue to grow and develop these programs and for future collaborations with the Community Board 12.
I love this so much.
Thank you.
If you can send me also the slide deck, and if you can send it to Alexis as well, because I imagine being able to just cut and paste a little bit of the verbiage will make her minute taking a little bit easier.
Okay.
Do we have I mean, in an ideal world, we would be chatting about this for half an hour because it's so fabulous. And I appreciate your coming back and just giving a little bit of an overview and context of some of the stuff that's going on down there. If we've got burning questions about that, we could take a few, but I do want to, if Nina's asking if the slide deck can be shared with the whole committee, and yes, when I get the slide deck, I'll send it out to the committee. So Barbara, what's your question?
Okay, two quick questions. One is pre-COVID, and I believe then when the other group was doing the managing the community sailing, they had agreed, because when the community sailing started, what happened, the people that were connected into the Chelsea group filled all the slots right away. So it was really running for people from Brooklyn. There was an agreement that they would restrict the registrations for the community sailing to people from zip codes that were in Community Board 12. Are you currently managing that?
Thanks, Barbara. So just to be clear, and I put it in the thread, that's coordinated directly through Hudson River Community Sailing. It was one of the contingencies that we made prominent in awarding the license or re-awarding. They worked something out with Manhattan River Group prior to our assuming operations. So every month throughout the boating season, so 6 times a year, we expect that they're going to be doing this community programming. We watch it, but you guys should be too. Making sure that that it's consistent, that it's posted on their website. We check it out. It's our job. You can ping me or Lewis if you don't see that. And if you do feel like the community is not getting access to that, let us know. But that's really something that is on them to make sure that they're accommodating the community up there. They understand that obligation.
Okay, and then who is it that runs the licenses or rentals for the boat docking spaces?
Yeah, so sure, that's our bailiwick. And so if anyone, we've got moorings, and I want to point out, this site to me means so much because it's the only place in all of Manhattan where you can launch a boat. Robert Moses made sure to run his roads all out, run rampant.
Yeah.
But this is the only place where you can haul and launch a boat and store it on land during the off season, during the winter season. So we run all that. The mooring field, the docks. We don't allow jet skis. That was something that was running rampant before we staffed it ourselves. So we license all of the boats that come in there. So yeah, if you have any questions.
Okay, my question is this. When it was originally going to be opened, I had objected that the rates for docking, the person in charge of it was basing it on the rate down for the 83rd Street boat basin. And I said, that's not really fair. You should look more over at what it would cost at City Island or across the river at Weehawken, which is more a representative of the demographic up here. And he cited some clause and under federal, waterfront, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And so the rate was very, very high. Can you speak to that now? And if there's any modification to make it more reasonable for people in our.
It's getting late. And
Yes.
Barbara, that he person was me. So,
Oh, was it? Okay.
So sure. It wasn't based on, what it was based on was reducing it from the costing that Manhattan River Group had in place. I based it on their rates from 10 years ago, and we reduced it from there. So it's cheaper than what it was prior to our operating it. However, the thing that you're asking about in terms of what kind of leeway do we have, we are bound. One of the good things that Manhattan River Group did was they leveraged a boating improvement grant through the federal government. It's through the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. And the parameters of that grant dictate that we're not allowed to cannibalize the market. We can go a little below market, but we're supposed to be somewhat commensurate with what the market bears. So while we love City Island, we love Weehawken, it ain't Manhattan. I mean, we cannot undercut, they can't fund this, the build out again was through this federal funding. We can't undercut the market. So the good news is once rates go in place, usually in parks, or the bad news, perhaps if you're looking for a more dynamic model, they tend to stay, they're kind of static. So I think as the years go on, we haven't increased it since we got there in 2019, and I don't imagine any increases in the future. But it is cheaper than what was there in 2016, so 7 years ago, and I expect it won't increase.
Great.
As the years go.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
thank
for
you.
questions.
My
Barbara.
appeal to the group, again, I hope what you're seeing here is this is, like we said, it's a work in progress. So while we've seen wonderful start with Fresh Youth Initiatives, if you have any other groups you want to turn us on to, Louis, you know, again, is great at doing that outreach, and let us know if there's any partnerships that you guys see that might be potential for us here. We look forward to it.
Great, thank you so much. Nate, when you send that slide deck to me, if you can also send it to the address that Benny Toribio, who represents the assembly member, he did throw his contact in
I've
the
got it.
chat. So if you could send it to him as well, would be great. One less
will
thing
do.
for this feeble brain to have to remember to do. Okay, so we're not doing terrible for time. Next up, it's 8:34. Next up, we've got Elizabeth Masella from New York City Parks on a temporary public art installation. This is the Parks and Cultural Affairs Committee. So I appreciate and I'm appreciating you in advance.
Thank you for having me. And I know it's a long meeting and you have a few more items after us, so I will try and just run through this real quick. I wanted to share a few different projects. Again, really quick, one that happened this summer, two upcoming next month. And also just to reintroduce myself to you all, since it's been a while since I've been here. I'm Elizabeth Masella. I'm the Senior Public Art Coordinator at NYC Parks. I am currently the lone person overseeing all temporary public art exhibitions citywide. We have probably about 60 on view in all 5 boroughs. Through the temporary public art program, anyone can apply. We have an open application process, rolling basis. All projects are self-funded by the artists. We do not receive any funding from the city for our program, so that we do recognize that is a hurdle for artists, but they still manage to make it happen. Artists are also responsible for all aspects of installation, including fabrication, transport, deinstallation, site restoration, general liability insurance. Our role in it is to help find locations for these artworks that won't interrupt regular park usage, make sure that artists and organizers are meeting certain benchmarks, and that the artworks will be safe. So we do sculpture and murals. I'm just going to share a photo or a couple photos of a mural project that was done this summer, which we didn't get an opportunity to share with you. But if you've been by Highbridge Park at Edgecombe and 167th, right above Sunken Playground, this mural was painted this summer in a program organized by New York Presbyterian and Cloth 159, as well as the Summer Youth Employment Program. So a great group of students put together this mural design and worked with 2 lead artists to create a design about connectivity and positivity and all the great things that can come of connecting to each other. Shortly after it was installed, it was vandalized. Unfortunately, luckily, it's been restored, back in good condition. They had a graffiti layer on there, so it didn't totally destroy the mural. But if you're out there, take a look at it, and that'll be on view through next year.
Also, that mural is a real nice mural.
Thanks. So then the next project I'm going to share, and I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around a bit here, is just a small project with an artist named Adrienne Sass, who's primarily a photographer. She has an artwork that will be coming to Ilka Tanya Payan Park at 157th Street and Broadway. It says September here. We've moved it to end of October. It's a lenticular print, which if you don't know what that is, it's kind of like a way of printing photographs that if you move one way, you see one image. If you move another way, you see another image. And the artwork will, just by the way, since you can see here, it'll be installed on the sign stand in the park, but it'll contrast between two images of this actual site, one from the collection of the Museum of the City of New York, which is here, and then it'll be juxtaposed with a contemporary photo, which you see here, and it'll be positioned facing that building right there. And Adrian's here. I don't know if you just want to say a couple words about your work, Adrian, but essentially that's the nuts and bolts of this installation. And then after Adrian, I'll get to one more project to share with you. Adrian.
Hi.
Oh.
I think we're still seeing your screen, Elizabeth.
Oh,
I can
yeah.
start. I'm Adrian. I'm an artist. I work in digital media, and I try and introduce my work to the physical world in interesting ways. And I think Elizabeth pretty much described what's going to happen in October. I've been working with the Friends of Ilkatayan Park, Elizabeth Wiedemeyer, if you know her. And so there will be an opening reception on Thursday, October 26th, and you are all welcome to come. I don't know if this spoils the fun. I'm conflicted about sharing it or not, but I'll give you a little preview. I think.
It's never going to be as good on screen as it is in person, so no, it's not going to spoil the fun.
Hi.
Well, I don't even know
I'm
if I
sorry.
can.
We have
I'm
a
having
question
trouble.
for those that are in person. What's your relationship to this project?
Sorry, I'm
She's the artist.
You did the mural that they just showed?
No, Adrian, the mural was done. I don't have anybody here for the mural this evening. Adrian is doing the project with the two photographs at Ilkatayan Payan Park at 157th and Broadway. Adrian, are you able to pull up the image or?
I don't know if I'm having trouble because I'm a.
You are a panelist and you do have the ability to share screen. So if you hit that green dot, the green share screen at the bottom of the Zoom box.
Yeah, it is asking me about my system preferences, which I'm opening, but it's not cooperating with me.
Well, if you're not able to do it, see if you can figure it out and let's go to the next artist.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to open this up again. So then the other project that I'm sharing tonight is actually a group exhibition for Fort Tryon Park, which will be installed mid-October through April, about 6 months. And I'm also joined by MJ Levy-Dixon, who's one of the artists in the exhibition, is also one of the organizers of the exhibition. Before I turn it over to MJ to speak about the artwork in this exhibition, I'll just run through very quickly, what the exhibition is, what it's about. So it's called Appearances. There's work by 7 artists, which you'll see. It serves a mission to operate as a green arts festival with the goal of bringing awareness to the majesty and fragility of our environment. It's an experience that will be educational and visually stimulating for New York citizens and visitors. It provides a platform for art that brings people physically into nature or in proximity to sites of historical significance. We're still working on developing this, but supplementary programming and educational opportunities like art walks may be offered. And site selection is still being finalized, but we did do a site walkthrough with both Chris and Jana on a very, very hot day earlier this summer. But all of the sites will ensure minimal impact on park usage. We looked at a lot of small triangles and alcoves for these artworks, and to add also, it'll bring something to the park in the colder months, you know, still keep things active. And we settled on Fort Tryon Park for a number of reasons, because it has all those spaces. And we've also done a number of multi-artwork exhibitions here. So I'll briefly just run through the artworks in the exhibition. This is by Elizabeth Akamatsu, called Stardust. It's a steel sculpture that can be sat upon. It'll be anchored using some small cement footings below ground. It's inspired by desert crystals formed by the sun. It's strong as a rock and as delicate as a flower, as the artist says. And it represents interdependence and interconnectivity. The next artwork will actually be a few of these kind of, it's like a tree support, won't actually be touching the tree, by Annie Chichester, called Golden Tree. And they are these kind of wooden structures that will be around select trees with gold leaf on them, kind of highlighting that oxygen is our gold, trees have magical power, and kind of highlighting trees in a way, bringing your attention to them and their importance in their world. MJ Levy-Dixon's piece here is called Everyone. It's made of blue stone with, it'll have shatterproof mirrors on them that will reflect back the park. Each of these pieces will be sunk into the ground for stability. And the stones represent our connection to the earth. And the colors vary just as people do, and the mirrors reflect ourselves in each other. The next piece is Rosie Kaiser's An Accordance of Forces, Seawall for a Hilltop. It's a corrugated steel sheet painted with enamel, with the image that you see in the lower right-hand corner, kind of this nature scene on this steel piece here. And it's really about nature and urban metal, kind of how they interact and transforming, and how spirit can reanimate new forms and populate new planes through friction and flight, as the artist asks here. This piece by Dorothy Palanza is called Human Invasion. And if any of you are art history buffs, it is a reference to the Venus of Willendorf, which is a very famous ancient artwork. But the piece really with the earth in the middle, kind of speaks to the threat that we impose on our planet as the most invasive of all species. So getting you to think about that as well. It will be attached to the armature that you see there securely, which will also be weighted with sandbags for extra security and weight. This piece here is by Billy Sherry. It's called Equinox. It's made out of steel I-beams, and it's pretty simple in its construction, but this will also be anchored with a 3-inch pipe in the ground, about 16 inches deep. And the final piece here is by Wolf, which is an artist collective, I believe, in India. It's called Oud, which is also a word for flight, which is a word for to fly in Hindi. So it's a series of these coat hangers that are inverted, painted white. They look like birds. They'll be attached to cinder blocks, which will be attached to each other as the anchoring force, and they'll also be attached to rods pretty securely. And that's a very brief overview of that exhibition. I don't know if MJ just wanted to add a few words about just the meaning of the work, and anything you wanted to add about programming or citing or anything like that.
Thank you very much. Let me, can everyone hear me? Great, thank you. First of all, thank you for inviting me to the meeting. This has been incredibly insightful into your community and the vibrance that you've created. Elizabeth, thank you for the introduction. I would say that appearances and art in general should be a conversation, and we are excited to be in Fort Tryon Park, and we want to do whatever is most beneficial for the community to invite people to the park to see the work, how we can engage with you. And if you have suggestions, please let us know, because we want the involvement. And if you have any questions, that I know it's getting late, so I don't want to speak for too long.
Thank you. I see Danny has his hand raised.
Yeah. Okay, this echo thing is gonna suck. So my first question was with the artwork, the print one, the one that you can see from one and the other side. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not the mural, the one with the two photographs.
Mm-hmm.
Is that street facing or sidewalk facing?
So it'll be facing into the park, right, Adrian? So that when you'll be looking north. So you'll be inside the park looking at the view that the photographs are showing.
But the artwork, is it facing the street or is it facing, because it looks like it was like facing the street.
That was an early rendering, I think, that Elizabeth showed, and it's facing north in that drawing, but in reality it will be facing south. So you will be looking north when you look at it, and it is of the view that you would see if it weren't there. And I still can't share my screen, but I did put a link in the chat. So
I have it here. If you can all see, you can see how the image transforms from one to the other as you walk around it.
That is very cool.
And I guess my second question is, what additional fundings you guys got to make this happen? Because I know that this is a program that the artists are funding it, but aside from the artists, were there any additional fundings that were raised? Probably like the grants or something like that. I'm not too sure.
I could probably address that. We have sought funding privately, and it's a work in progress, because I think it's the chicken and the egg, which comes first, or catch-22. You can't raise money for something that hasn't been approved, and then once it's approved, then you can raise the money, but you need to get the project done. So we're continually looking for support, but at this point we have enough support to make this project happen.
Nice, congratulations on that.
It's a great opportunity. Thank you. I think it speaks to your community and the support for all of you, and the fact that we can do it, where you are. So thank you.
And then Adrian, I don't know if you wanted to speak on your project as well, but
yeah, I got funding from the Lower Manhattan Cultural Council and a UMES grant for living and working above 110th Street. And the Museum of the City of New York, which is also in the UMES zone, donated the use of the photograph from their archives.
That is fantastic. So I know that we have another question. Eligio, I'm going to give you 30 seconds if it is on topic to what is being discussed here, and then we're going to move to the next agenda item.
It's great to see all of you artists coming together to do art in the community. I'm an artist myself, and that's wonderful what you guys are doing. Question, what do you hope for in terms of these installations and mural, in terms of the lifespan? Is this a year? Do you hope to have them maintained throughout the years? How you see this? How you visualize in the coming years? I like to see schools being integrated to come and see this wonderful work. So what do you see yourself in terms of keeping this project alive? For how long? Would it be just a spontaneous work, or do you hope to have something more permanent?
Yeah, I can answer that question just about the Art in the Parks program as a whole. So everything that we permit through the Art in the Parks program is intended to be temporary. There's something to be said about permanent versus temporary. The great thing about temporary is it won't encumber a space for in perpetuity. They're meant to be there for a few months at a time, up to a year. Then they go and oftentimes they pop up somewhere else. Some ecologically minded artists will reuse them. Murals are a little bit different, kind of a different case. We do permit them for up to 1 year, but as long as they remain in good condition, we won't, come in and paint them over or ask the artist to remove them. The 1 year period kind of solves a couple, I guess, issues or gets around things. There's not really much leeway for, there's temporary and then there's forever, and murals are really hard to keep up. Moisture gets into the paint, it peels, it cracks, it flakes. So 1 year, the artist is required to maintain it, but they're not, after the 1 year, we'll still give them an opportunity to fix it if there's graffiti, but they're not tied to maintaining this mural for the next 50 years or so the next, or then, once they move on, that someone else has to take care of it. But, most of the murals do last, I'd say about 5 years is a good amount of time. It really depends on the wall. But after a certain amount of time, they do deteriorate, but then there is the opportunity for someone else to come in and do a mural as well. And just for the shorter exhibitions, the artists are required to maintain those as well. But we've had a really good track record, I think. I mentioned, unfortunately, the one mural was tagged. I think that was maybe rare. I don't want to say it's rare, knock on wood. But yeah, that's the intention of the program, is that these things won't be there permanently.
Can you, so there are how many pieces that are going into Fort Tryon Park? 7, 8?
Yes.
Which?
So 7 in the presentation that I shared, all of them.
Okay, so there are 7. Yes. And where in the park are they going?
So they'll be spread throughout the park. The idea is that they won't be clustered in any one area. We're still working out exact placement, but the idea is that you'll walk through the park and you'll kind of discover these as you go through and walk on the pathways.
I love that. Okay, that is, and those are going up, I'm sorry, you said those are going up in October, November?
October.
That is just delightful. Can't wait to see those. Okay, we have a few minutes left. It's 5 minutes to 9. I'd really like to end this meeting at 9. We're probably going to go a little bit over. I want to talk a little bit about the capital budget items. So everybody, with the possible exception of Naima, I will forward this email to Naima. But all of the board members received a series of documents from the office. Shout out to the office for getting that all out to us in advance of all of the committee meetings. It was our fiscal 24 statement of needs, our capital and expense priorities for last year, that we did last year for the current fiscal year in which we find ourselves. It's a little bit confusing for those of you who are new. Right now, of course, we're in 2023 calendar year, but the New York City fiscal year starts on July 1st and goes until June 30th of the following year. And the name of the fiscal year is the number of the year in which that fiscal year ends. So when you're in the second half of 2023, you're in fiscal 24. So the current fiscal year started July 1st, a couple months ago. It goes until June 30th of 2024. So we call that fiscal 24. Everybody got that? Last year, at around this time, we voted and prioritized the various capital projects and expense programs. And one of the things to keep in mind about this committee, which deals with cultural affairs and also parks, is that the Department of Parks and Recreation does not have its own capital budget. DOT has its own capital budget. Every agency has its own capital budget except for parks. So that means that they don't really have agency to determine what capital projects they do, because they don't have their own capital budget. They have to take their priorities, shop them around to the community boards, interest the local elected officials who have allocations, primarily the council members who have allocations to use on projects in their district. And there are many different projects competing for those capital needs, but, you know, I'm biased. I think parks, you know, I'm always going to heavily prioritize parks. I hope other people on this committee do as well. But when we do our capital budgeting exercise, you know, yes, parks are very important, but so are schools and healthcare and roads and, you know, all of these things. So I encourage everybody to take a look at the materials that we received from the office. What I will do is I'll sit down with Luana so that we can, and with Jana, so that we can cross off of the list anything that's already been done. It's in the process of being done. It's been allocated or it's been funded. Because if it's already been completed, we don't need to prioritize it because it's done. If it's already been funded, we can just list it for continuing support. We don't have to give it a priority number. The things that we need to prioritize are the things that haven't been funded. We'll take, generally what we've done is we take the list from last year, we subtract anything that's been completed or that's been funded. We add anything that has come up in conversation. So we go through the minutes and say, you know, what were people talking about? Things like Gorman Park, which has clearly come up in conversation. Things like handball courts, things like, as Eligio mentioned, tennis courts. So if there are tennis courts that need some capital support that weren't already on last year's list, we would add that. And then we go about prioritizing what we feel is the most important. And we do that based not only on our own personal preferences, but also based on the kinds of feedback that we've had in the committee. And we do that based on public testimony that we hear, that we've heard in the past, and that we hear at our meeting next month. So that's how we do our priorities. Do people have questions, pointed things that they want to throw out there? We can talk about it a little bit. I mean, the guts of this discussion is going to take place in October, but it's kind of a lot. And this is the one meeting a year where I really give people homework. Like our homework is to really take a look at those materials that were submitted so that we can feel like we can knowledgeably discuss and prioritize these projects. Jana.
Well, first of all, Liz, as I dropped in the chat, thank you for your bias. We appreciate it very much. And, you know, back to the Blitz model that we've discussed, I think that for us, in terms of, you know, and Steve Simon is our leader here, in terms of our advocacy for the capital funding we need, but I really intend to work closely with the Friends groups and with CB12 so that we can really glean all the different needs. My question here is, how do you see this intersecting, if at all, with participatory budgeting, which I'm a huge fan of? Is this like, because, you know, the capital funding issue, how can you explain and break down for me as a newbie here, how do you approach that?
You know, I have actually very mixed feelings about participatory budgeting. I love the idea, and this is me speaking personally. I love the idea of it. I love the idea that individuals can have a particular project that they're really advocating for. But the amount of effort that goes into pitching the participatory budgeting projects, they're very parallel tracks. And I actually think it's confusing in a way that is ultimately not entirely helpful. I really wish that there were like a participatory budgeting overlay to this community board process so that people, you know, people are busy and people are tired. And the idea that they have to show up to that whole group of meetings and this whole group of meetings is exhausting. So I don't want to sound like I oppose participatory budgeting. I don't. I just wish that there was a way to better integrate them.
Okay.
So in a lot of ways, I feel like that's actually a question that's better directed to the council member, because I think one of the things that happens is when there are smaller projects, because PB is only like $1 million.
Right.
So when there is a lot of times at the community board level, we're prioritizing very big projects. When there's some little, like there's a dog run or an auditorium in a school or a particular playground, something that's a couple $100,000, it's very easy for it to get lost in the large scale of this community board process. So one of the things that PB is really good for is picking up some of these smaller projects, and it's a little bit more of a nimble process because the projects are smaller and they're cheaper. So
to your point, thank you, because I think what I appreciate about participatory budgeting, and I helped bring that to United Palace when I was on the board, is that it involves the people in spending our own money, right? In terms of where is our tax money going? And it helps people understand the process. Two, to your point, I think that kind of under 500,000, that's really helpful for, say, our triangle parks, which have a lot of challenges sometimes, our parklets. You like the 163rd and St. Nicholas that we did a blitz on. Three, to your point, I hear you loud and clear. I think I just so appreciate CB12 and what you're doing to help people understand that we don't have a capital budget line. So for instance, when Jay was, dismayed by the handball court at J. Hood Wright, that's something that could fall in perhaps to, a smaller funded need, right? So to me, Liz, I see them collectively, I see them connected in terms of one, just the education process, because a lot of people out there, as you know, don't understand that parks, we don't have this funding to do everything that people want. So much appreciation. And I was just curious how you saw the PB intersecting.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so other questions on capital and on expense? Going once, going twice? Okay, so everybody do your homework. Danny, yeah, if you want to give, I hear there are a couple of CUNY students who have some questions about parks stuff. So I would say if you could give them both mine and Luana's email, I can probably, I'm happy to address questions that they have about history and context. But going forward, Luana's the boss. So
Hardly.
I will say one of the things that I have done a lot of, which I think is true for most of the committee chairs, is we often get a lot of questions from, sometimes from Patch, often from journalism students who have correctly identified community boards as a great way to learn about communities. So when they have questions about like nitty-gritty history, about particular projects or particular locations, I know I spend a lot of time answering those questions, and I imagine the board staff does as well, and other committee chairs do as well. So with that,
they
Janet,
said thank you very much.
My pleasure. Okay, thanks for coming.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. We really appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, you'll see us around.
Excellent. All right, before I adjourn, I guess I'm gonna let Janet get the last word.
Okay, thank you so much. The last word is, when is the party for you? And hey, just putting it out there. And just a note, it's not on our park property, but I just wanted to flag that we will be there. And we expect some spillover to the Ann Loftus Playground. The first ever Latin Night Market will be on Dykeman on September 22nd. So just flagging that.
Oh my God, thank you so much for reminding me about that. Those are two things that I should have announced up at the beginning. One, the bad news is there's no medieval festival, and I'm really sad about that. Two, the good news is the Latin Night Market is coming. It's going to be on Dykeman. It's going to be fantastic. If you have never been to the Harlem Night Market or the Bronx Night Market,
There's no
they're
medieval.
great. I mean, these are big events, but they're incredible. They're extremely well run. We've met Marco Shalma. He's come to this committee. He's come to the Business Development Committee. He is an incredibly responsible, community-based event promoter. I was once a nonprofit that I'm connected to. One of the things that he does is he gives space to nonprofits to have a table and talk about whatever their nonprofit is doing. And I once was one of those nonprofits, and the list of like what you have to do to comply, and the pack in and pack out, and then leave no trace, and here's how you be a responsible vendor in this event, was very, very long. And while it is absolutely a lively and dynamic event, everybody cleans up after themselves, and it's a really good time, and the food is great, and the entertainment is incredible, and all that entertainment is free. So it's really a wonderful, wonderful event, and I am very excited for it, and really pleased that he moved the date so that it's like not on Rosh Hashanah, which would have been a bummer. So I look forward to seeing you all on the 22nd. That's when the party is.
Why no medieval fest this year again?
That's not my committee, but my understanding is the nonprofit that ran the event, it was, they just didn't have the funding for it. It was always very expensive to put together. They didn't have adequate funding for it. I guess, this is me guessing, this is not like the official word, but I guess they were running at a loss and they couldn't cover their costs. And so no medieval festival. And I think that's really a loss to the community.
And Liz, real quickly, and Danny, hello, I'm Jana, nice to see you here. Just a note that Chris and I, Liz, did have a meeting with the Cloisters Museum, and we are exploring a path to look at reviving the Medieval Festival for 2024 in a more collaborative, multi-partnered way.
That would be great. And if it can include, how do I put this? It's late, I'm tired, and I'm hungry, so I'm going to be a little bit unfiltered. If it can have more
vendors,
local vendors and fewer racist guys from Pennsylvania, I'd be really happy about that.
Ditto.
I was gonna say that they didn't sell enough turkey legs.
Yeah. All right. Well,
speaking of that, last touche to that, Liz. Marco Shalma, who I worked with in Harlem for the Harlem Night Market, he has a vegan market, FYI, at Woolman. Yes. So Danny, there you go. No turkey legs, only cauliflower.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. All right.
I'll take both.
That's usually
Both.
Derek.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
All right. Good night.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.